Okay, I'm seeing 9 people on there now. Yes, Omar? It's not letting me unmute you. Yeah, Omar, what's up?
It was a question from Ms. Paz to share with you.
Okay. Yes, Omar,
What?
your hand is still up. Did you hit it by accident?
Let me put my hand down. Okay.
Elijah, what's up?
We were doing a poll.
A poll and a short quiz. So once you're done with the poll, move to the quiz.
I don't see no quiz.
Okay,
There's
1
no
second.
quiz. Okay.
It
Oh.
should start now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm. Yes, Jamie?
What's the code?
I'll text it here, but the link should work without a code. I tested it out on my phone and it was fine, but I sent it anyway.
And also, for the homework yesterday.
We're not talking about that right now. You're just focusing on the quiz.
Okay.
So almost everyone has started the quiz. They haven't completed it yet, so I'm going to give you just 1 more minute. And I have 2 high scores already. 3, 4, 5 high scores who can all change their pictures today. 6 high scores. Okay. All right, so let's bring it back and I will read off the high scores. Amari, I need to see your video, and Carlos and Tempa. Great, Brian's ready. Shakai's ready. Awesome. Okay, so the following people can take a quick 30 seconds to change their background photo if they want to. Rasim, Elijah, Peace, Ariani, Vincent, Alexis, Carlos, Omar,
Play the song,
Erno,
right?
Inta, Jalen, Josh, Michelle, Tempa, Rachel, Emma, and Darlise. If you want to change your screen, you can. Yes, Carlos.
How can you change your screen?
We will go over that later. Just remind me tomorrow that you got a high score, and I will let you change your screen.
Okay.
Okay. Again, it has to be school appropriate, and it is not going to be distracting. Otherwise, you will lose that right. Yes, Tempa.
How do you change your screen?
Yeah, so Carlos just asked that question. We'll go over that later. You can remind me tomorrow, and I'll let you change it for tomorrow if you got a high score today. Okay, so let's go over what happened in last night's reading. So I'm going to pick someone who scored a high score. Emma, can you tell us some of the key details that happened in last night's reading?
Well, for one, that Romeo and Juliet married by, I think it was Frere, I think his name.
Okay.
Key details. And I can't really remember scene 4.
Okay, who can help out Emma? Let me see hands. Hassan, what other details do we need to take away from this scene?
Okay, so we could take away that Romeo decided to marry Juliet with Friar. We could also take away that we could also take away that Romeo talked to the nurse to tell Juliet about his feelings, and so that the nurse told some things about what Juliet did when he wasn't around.
Okay, and then there was one other very key detail that I'm looking for that happened in scene 3. And it has to do with Romeo, and something happened to him. What is it? What is it that happened to him? Think about that first quiz question that I had. What happened to Romeo? Darylise.
I forgot.
Someone tell me about Tybalt. What did Tybalt do? What did Tybalt do? Go ahead, Jalen.
So Bolt challenged Romeo to a fight.
He did. Why?
I don't remember specifically, but I think it was because of Tybalt found Romeo at the party and he wanted to fight them there, but he couldn't.
That's right. Why did Tybalt want Romeo at the party? Let me look at hands. Why didn't Tybalt want Romeo at the party? What was his beef there? Rachel, why didn't Tybalt want Romeo at the party? Hold on, I'm trying to unmute you. Okay, it's not working. I'll come back to you. Hands. Why didn't Tybalt want Romeo at the party? Rasim.
He didn't want him at the party because he was a Montague, and it said that I recognize this voice. He's a Montague.
Excellent. Great work, Rasim. I'm going to find a way that I can give you guys some sort of credit for using text evidence because we know that's super important. I'll figure it out and I'll get back to you tomorrow, but really strong answer, Rasim. So if I was going to write an objective summary based on all the details that Emma shared, Rasim shared, Hassan shared, and Jalen shared, what would that summary look like? What details do I want to include in that objective summary? Tell me generally what details go in an objective summary. What details go in an objective summary? Michelle. What details go in an objective summary?
Details that support your claim in the summary.
Am I making a claim in my summary? Show me if you agree or disagree. Agreement, disagreement. No, Omari, I'm not making a claim in my summary. What am I doing in my summary?
You're actually you're just summarizing what happened in the text.
I'm summarizing what happened in the text. So what should it not have? Yeah, go ahead, Omari.
Oh, so you shouldn't have like every single point. You should just have the most important ones.
Most important ones. So based on that logic that Omari is sharing with us, what are the most important points that we got from last night's reading, Brian?
I would say that the most important points that we got from last night's reading is that Freya was fine with marrying Romeo and Juliet because it thought that it would help ease the discord between the two families.
Yes, good. What else?
And then the second point is that Tybalt wanted to fight Romeo because he was a Montague.
Okay, excellent. So evaluate Brian's answer, Jamie.
Oh yeah, Brian has said that the most important points in the text that we got, like how how Romeo, yeah, those points we should include in the summary. Like he said, how Tybalt wanted to start a fight with Romeo because he was a Montague. Yeah, and to add on to what Brian had said, I think we also should stay away from opinion, and when we're writing a summary, we need to make sure it's in chronological order.
You do want to make sure it's in chronological order. Why?
Because that's the whole point of a summary, and it wouldn't really make sense if it was out of order.
You're right. I think we have a pretty good idea about what an objective summary is and all of the key details that happen in last night's reading. So great work, team. Let's go over the setting and how the setting and past relationships are influencing our characters now. How is the setting and past relationships influencing our characters? Let's talk about setting first. Everyone's video should be on at all times so I can see them. If you are not there, then I do not know that you are present. Great, thank you, Omar and Peace and Hassan. Okay, so one more time. What is the setting and how does it influence our story? How does it influence our story? Sienna.
It influences our story because in scene 3, if Romeo wasn't in the cell, then he wouldn't have asked Friar, I think his name is, he wouldn't have asked to marry him and Juliet.
Okay, let's think back to the relationship between Romeo and Juliet specifically, and then let's also think back to how Tybalt asked to fight with Romeo. How does our setting impact that? Carlos, go ahead.
Okay, so our setting can impact the way, basically without the setting, because without the setting, without the setting, they wouldn't even have to fight each other because.
Why?
Because with the setting, and with the setting, Romeo wouldn't have ever met Juliet because in the party, Romeo had to go to the party to meet Juliet, and Tybalt was already at the party.
Okay, let's think beyond just the plot. What else? How did Tybalt ask Romeo to get into a fight? How did he ask him? Did he just go up to him and say, we should fight? If not, what happened? How did he ask him? Look back in your text if you need a refresher. How did he ask him? Did he approach him? Did he text him? Did he FaceTime him? Peace, how did Tybalt ask Romeo?
He sent him like a letter from like.
He sent him a letter. Is that something that would happen now?
No.
No. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, this is not something that happened now because like if you want to fight somebody, you either if you want to communicate with somebody, you like call them or go to them, but you're not sending letters because that's not now.
Right. Great. What else is a product of the setting? What else is a product of the setting? I want one more example. Ariane, give me one example of something that's a product of the setting.
Another thing that's a product to the setting, we could see that, well, in this text, it is the family's feud, and also because of the also how Romeo, he easily falls in love with a maiden, which is affected by the setting because now and then that wouldn't really happen. We mostly wouldn't base it off of their looks. Most likely we could base it off of their personality.
Ooh, interesting point. I'm not sure I completely agree with that, but let's hear some other thoughts. Tell me more about Romeo and Juliet's relationship. Yeah, Rachel, go ahead.
Is it working? Can you hear me?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So if you also think about the time period, maybe the feud between their families wouldn't be like this, cause like
What do you mean?
They're mostly feuding because um um
What do you mean their feud wouldn't be like this? Think about their relationship, right? How did it develop? Why would it not be like this now?
because they probably would have already resolved the problem.
Okay, maybe they would have resolved the problem. Final thought on this question, Hassan, go ahead.
Also, the setting causes, or the past in which the Romeo and Juliet's families were feuding in the past, that's what's causing all of this dueling and family feuding. And also, we learned that uh um what else do we learn?
Think about the question again, setting.
Oh, also because during this time, and it's also because it's in Italy, all the things that would happen here aren't happening, because they don't have,
Like what? Give me one example.
like they don't have current transportation to get there, so
Yeah,
they'd have to send
great.
letters.
That's great. They have to send these letters because they don't have transportation or electronics to communicate. So let's move on to the second question that we have. Tell me a little bit about the role of the servants and Romeo's friends. Tell me a little bit about that. Who were they very similar to in Twelfth Night? Who can we compare them to in Twelfth Night? Rasim, who can we compare those characters to in Twelfth Night?
So for Juliet's nurse, we could kind of call Juliet's nurse a Viola, because she carries the message to Romeo saying this and that. And yeah.
Okay. Show me if you agree or disagree. Jamie, why do you disagree?
I disagree because I think since Viola, she kind of like helps both Olivia and the Duke, as we see in 12th Night when she disguises. But I think like these characters on each side are more one-sided. So I'd say either Duke or Olivia, and I think like I don't know. I think that one side could be described as Duke because, you know, they have their family and their servants. Their servants are just there and they agree with whatever their master's opinion is. So we really don't get much about themselves.
Okay.
We get that, yeah.
So there is a storyline around Romeo, his friends, and the servants. What is that storyline? We talked a little bit about it before. There is a storyline beyond just Romeo and Juliet. What's that second storyline about? They certainly intertwine, but they're still very distinct. So let's think about what's happening on the side beyond the romance. What's happening on the side beyond that? Go ahead, Darylise.
I say like the three main characters here are Romeo, Juliet, and Rosaline. We could say maybe Rosaline because she was also part of that triangle, as well as in 12th Night where it's the Duke, Viola, and Olivia.
Okay.
Because Olivia wasn't in love with the Duke, as well as Rosaline isn't in love with Romeo.
Okay, so think a little bit beyond the love story. There's another story beyond the love story. What is that second narrative? We have a love story here, right, where we have Romeo and Juliet. Then we have another story that's happening, and it just started to develop. and it has to deal with specifically Romeo and specifically the Capulets and the Montagues. What's that second story that's happening? Josh.
I think it's the not only is the story about like the romance between Romeo and Juliet, but it's also about the feuds between their families, like how it continues to develop, and eventually when both Romeo and Juliet die, like their feud will end.
Excellent. Who remembers what a foil character is? I know a lot of you don't have your notebooks with you. Who remembers what a foil character is? Who can take a guess? I need a break. Who can take a guess? Think about what Maria was. Great, Emma. What's a foil character?
Like someone who blames stuff on other characters?
Not blame, but it does impact other characters. It's a character that does something else to other characters. Brian.
I think something. I remember something you saying about them changing their character by like making them stronger or like changing them in a certain way in their kind of their personality. So,
Excellent. So say that one more time so that I can make sure everyone heard you.
all right, so a foil character is basically one character making another character stronger in a certain way or like kind of changing them to like a different person.
Great. And so who would that be in our story right now? Who would that be in our story right now? Who are the foil characters in our story right now? Remember, we had a Maria. We also had Sir Toby. Go ahead, Binta. Who are our foil characters in Romeo and Juliet?
So, I believe that our foil characters in Romeo and Juliet were. Wait, can you like kind of put like a foil character in like kind of shorter terms? Because I heard Brian say foil characters is like something like that makes like the other characters I think change in a certain way or something.
Change or highlight their qualities.
Oh, so I'm pretty sure a foil character in Romeo and Juliet could be. I think Juliet I mean Romeo in a way.
Okay, let me come back to you because I want you to think of examples that are not Romeo or Juliet. So take a second to look through the text and I'm gonna come back to you. Hassan. Sorry, I'm trying to.
I would say Benvolio and Mercutio.
Mercutio.
Oh, Mercutio.
Why expand on that? Tell me.
Oh, I would say that because based on Brian's definition of them like changing a character, they're usually around Romeo and they talk to him about his love life. Like Benvolio tries to change up how he's feeling and his sadness because of Rosaline.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's it.
How do his friends, expand on Hassan's answer, how do those friends that he named function as foil characters? Binta.
So, wait, am I able to say an example of the foil character first?
No, so I want you to expand on what Hassan just told us. How do Romeo's friends behave as foil characters? How are they different from Romeo? How do they emphasize or highlight Romeo's characters?
I feel like they kind of highlight Romeo. Oh, you could just think of Paris. Paris, he's kind of like a foil for Romeo because we know Paris is like, he basically exemplifies the traits of Catholics. Desirable and a husband for their daughter and family.
Okay, so we could say Paris as a foil character because of what he highlights for the Capulets.
Yeah.
What else? What else? Marcus. How do Romeo's friends behave as foil characters for Romeo?
Romeo's friends could be can you hear me?
Yes.
Romeo's friends could be a foil character. Foil characters for Romeo because they since Romeo's like the main one of the main characters, it would be like they could make him think a certain something, like they can persuade him or convince him to do a certain something, which will cause the whole story to change. So they're like a foil character for Romeo because they kind of impact his decisions, which will impact the story.
That's right. They do impact his decisions. How? Omar, go ahead. Go ahead.
What?
How do Romeo's friends impact him?
Romeo's friend impact him because as we see, especially let's say for example, when they're going to the party, Romeo's like, oh, I don't want to dance, but they're trying to force him to dance so he can find some a love there, and they're basically like telling him what he should do if he wants to accomplish what he wants.
Okay, so I saw in the polls that you guys took in the start of class that most of you believe that all of the other people who are not Romeo and Juliet think that Romeo and Juliet are not actually in love. Based on that, how do his friends behave as foil characters? If we think that most of the people in their life do not really believe that they're in love, how do the friends function as foil characters? Elijah.
I didn't hear you because my family was talking.
Okay. I will come back to you. Who can help me with this question? Carlos.
Okay, so his friends can count as foil characters because, well, one, they help Romeo, even though they don't think that the love is like true and all, because when Romeo was talking to the priest, and when we first started reading like I believe it was Act 1, he said the priest brought up the question if he was still like Rosalina, and Romeo says he moved on, which brings him a type of fact saying maybe he doesn't really have true love. And also in scene 4 we see the nurse go up to Romeo and warns him saying, if your love is really true, you don't play around with Juliet's heart like that. And yeah, not only can we classify Romeo's friends as a foil character, but we can also classify the nurse as a foil character to Juliet.
I agree. I want to hear some final thoughts from Tempa. Tempa, what do we think?
I agree with Carlos, and I think that the nurse and Romeo's friends are foil characters because they emphasize Romeo and Juliet's love.
They emphasize it how? Positively or negatively? Do they make sorry, Tempa, do they make their love seem more realistic or more impulsive? Tempa, go ahead. What do you think? Do you want me to come back to you? Okay. So what do we think? Do they make their love seem more realistic or impulsive? Josh, go ahead. Josh? Yeah. Josh, I'll come back to you because I can't hear you. Try again.
Oh, I said that it makes their love seem, but you said realistic and impulsive, right?
Do the foil characters make the love seem more realistic or impulsive?
I think it makes the love seem more impulsive because they really develop how how other people see Romeo's love as foolish. Like Benvolio, for example, in the beginning, he tried to comfort him over getting over Rosaline, and then he's kind of confused, like his confusion of how Romeo fell in love with Juliet is developed. So like it shows how Romeo's love for Juliet is more impulsive than realistic.
Okay. And Rasim, and then we're gonna come back to you, Tempa.
Right. So I want to add on to Josh, and I want to add on by giving text evidence. Oh, give me a sec. It says Benvolio, as you said, Josh. Benvolio tries to comfort Romeo, and he also says that I'll show you that Rosalind is not the only girl in Verona. Which if Benvolio never encouraged Romeo to go to that party, he would probably had never met Juliet. Yeah.
Okay. And Tempa?
I agree with Rasim's evidence because when Benvolio tells Romeo to find somebody else, it's more like he's finding love to stop being sad instead of actually trying to get a relationship.
Great. And Jamie, go ahead.
Yes. And also, I think that they make their love feel more impulsive because through the course of the text, we get them judging Romeo and Juliet's love Romeo's love. And they're saying like, it's giving us like it's showing us how it's impulsive because it's saying how he just moves on and he's like overly dramatic about it. And once we understand what Benvolio and the other servants say, we like get this image in our mind. Like we might think when we're first reading the text, he says, "Oh, the Cupid's arrow is rough and hard." We might think that's romantic, but when we get Benvolio's piece about it, we get like a different perspective on what they're saying, and we think like he's over dramatic.
Great, excellent work. And final thought from Binta before we move on to our journal questions. Go ahead.
Mrs. Hall, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I feel like something that none of you guys mentioned, and this is like really, really like, okay, you guys gonna be surprised.
Okay.
Okay, guys, so Tybalt is basically a foil for Benvolio.
How?
Because he kind of like because we know a foil character is like one that emphasizes someone else's traits. I feel like Tybalt kind of like he depicts Benvolio. He like kind of like emphasizes Benvolio's traits.
Okay. It looks like Joelise wants to respond to that, Binta. Go ahead.
So Binta, I kind of think that your evidence is kind of like invalid a little. And I also want to say that Mercutio is also an example of a foil character because in page 39, he says, "Poor Romeo, he's already dead, stabbed in the eye with Rosaline's looks, shot through the ear with a love song, pierced in the heart with Cupid's arrow." And that's saying that he thinks that Romeo is only that Romeo thinks he's in love with Juliet because his heart was broken.
Great, really, really good find. Josh, this has to be the last one because I only have 5 minutes left. Go ahead.
Binta, I have a question for Binta.
Okay.
Could you explain specifically what trait the character you said, I forgot. Oh, Tybalt, what trait does Tybalt develop in Benvolio?
Binta?
No comment.
Binta, I want you to respond to Josh's question.
But okay, so I mean there are many traits. It kind of like there are many traits that Tybalt kind of emphasizes from Benvolio because we kind of sometimes like anytime they have an argument, we kind of see Benvolio as almost like as if a fake kind of aggressive person. But when he's kind of around Romeo, my thoughts kind of change about the characteristics of Benvolio.
Well, do we feel that Tybalt is also a violent person? Show me. Yes, he's also a violent person. No, he's not a violent person. He
No
is
comment.
a violent. Why do we think that he's also a violent person, Amari?
He's sorry. He is a violent person because he tried to challenge Romeo to fight.
Yeah, he wanted to duel with Romeo. Okay, so I am sending a link now to what your homework is going to be. And I'm also sending you, sorry, ignore that. Where are you? Okay, so this is the link. And the code to this is GQZKF. I'll type that in. GQZKF. And what I want you to do is answer those 2 questions on the link that I sent you. I will also send that link and the passcode on Jupyter after this. I only have about 3 minutes. If you cannot access the link, I'm just typing the question here now so that you can see it. Mr. Regan, can you just unmute those who have questions at the moment?
Absolutely. Anybody have a question? Go ahead, Binta.
So my question is, so are we able to like, is it an option that we could like just basically write it down in a notebook and then take a picture and then send it to Ms. Patel or you?
No, I do not want you to do that, only because I do not want to be getting homework from various different sources. It's very difficult for me to keep track then of who is doing the homework and who is not. So my preference is that you either send it on Jupyter, via email, or on this link.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yasim, go ahead, and then I'll go to Marcus.
I want to ask if I could use the bathroom.
Yes, you may go.
Go ahead, Yasim.
I've typed up the questions here. My class is now over, so I will be transitioning this into history. We're just reading for Miss EJ. So for now, what I want you to do is just put away all of your reading materials. If you have questions, you can either ask me during writing via chat, or I'll stay on after special, so you can ask any questions about any of the classes you have.
Ms. Patel, can I just know one thing for everyone? I think at the beginning of the day, we're having a little bit of difficulty with people shutting off your videos or going to go to the bathroom or anything. You're always welcome to go to the bathroom, but please just message the co-host. It's going to be the support teacher, so me for reading and for TA. If you're going to turn off your video, if you need to go do something, just so that we know why that you're going to be gone for a minute or whatever, we're not constantly messaging you, please turn back on your video. Also, I think at the beginning of the day, it would be best if everyone could just or if you're just using the same device every day, just message us so we know if you're using your phone. So if you have to go click a link and it turns off the video because of that, we know that that's the reason why. That would be very helpful for us if you guys wouldn't mind doing that. I see Michelle has a question. Michelle, go ahead. And I know Marcus and Carlos have questions before.
Do we have to read anything for homework?
Yes, you are reading the next 2 themes for homework.
Okay.
5 and 6. Okay. So Miss EJ is now on, which means this is now history. All your stuff should already be away, and I will see you guys later. Actually, Miss EJ, what needs to happen? Miss EJ?
Yes.
I don't think Mr. Regan can stop my video until the session ends, and then I won't be able to start yours until then.
Wait, I think I can.
You can stop.
Oh, it won't.